looking through 8 rounds, maybe let's have a look at the All Blacks. What is the most contentious position that you see right now where you've seen, okay, there are people going for this and we don't know who is going to wear that jersey?
10. I think, look, it's probably a 2-horse race, but it's pretty hard because, Damien's having a massive impact and I think every time Beauden Barrett's been in the team, he's had a massive impact. So I think that battle, I couldn't pick it at the moment, but I do feel on the weekend you just saw how important Beaudy was to the Blues, and you can see it when that first half against the Brumbies and then when he goes away. And again, it's that impact on result. And they're both doing that at the moment. But you'd have to say Beaudy's probably doing it with a lot less around him with the amount of injuries and the changing to the 23s each week for the Blues.
Why don't we take that to Ashley and Martin turning point? Because Beauden Barrett has been, quite superb in the time he's played, Brynner. What is it about what he's doing right now that is helping the Blues when he is on the field? Why is he turning things for them when he's around?
Just his game management. Jib's touched on a lot and around his communication skills and what he does for other players. That's just going to help your team, having a guy like that. But situationally, I thought he was really good on the weekend, whether it was his attacking kicks, his long kicking game, his game management game. I thought it was really good. We know his attacking ability and he can bring that at any time. But I think more so on the weekend, situationally, with what he was required from your 10 in game management wise, I thought he was really good, especially against the Hurricanes, where I thought it was a very tit-for-tat game. Both teams are very desperate, but his influence is at crucial times, whether it was his goal kicking. I even look at maybe the 77th minute when he puts up a contestable kick. Caleb Clark and Rieko Ioane are able to then contest for that ball, and then there's a knock-on from that from Ruben Love. But those kind of situations, that's something that I was really impressed with, considering that the Blues needed him to play well situationally, and I thought he did that really well on the weekend with his goal kicking as well.
And he's just got that ability when he carries, he naturally draws in that outside defender. And what I mean is when he gets on the outside of the defender that's on him, they bite, and if they don't bite, he'll go through. He's still got that pace. So I think that raw pace is massive, but it's then the decision he makes when he sees that defender freeing up the outsides. And sometimes there's a short ball or there's a ball out the back. It seems every time at the moment he is hitting the right person to create the space or to score the try. Another thing I agree with Bryn is his kicking game, but I think it's reading and understanding how to get the result. And so often, even when I played at the Blues with Beaudy, he loves his contestables, he loves his attacking kicks. But for the 16 kicks he had, just under 700 metres, 15 of them were long and tactical, and looking for that territory gain. And that was the difference in the end. His goal kicking obviously was the actual difference, but he just put them in the right places that allowed them to grind themselves to the win. They're still not flowing. They're not in their mojo as we've seen previously. But I think his ability and the confidence to, if you look at when they beat the Canes in Wellington, they held on, whereas this was like a chess match to get the result. Yep. And I think the Hurricanes will be a little bit disappointed because they left a lot out there and probably should have won the game. But I think Beaudy was a key catalyst in making sure that didn't happen. And then I think what showed me the biggest turning point, 79th minute, he makes that tackle and takes the Hurricanes, I think it was Kini Naholo, out, which gives them the ball back, which allows them to get the result. Now that's match defining. The penalty kick match defining, but there, on defence, Kini Naholo, we know how electric he can be. He takes a physical tackle and drags him out, which I don't know, like it just, his mindset and his sharpness, it almost felt like not only a turning point potentially, well, maybe I'm just hoping that for the Blues, but definitely for him. Definitely for him. I think backing up from that Brumbies first half, it was like, whoa, he wants to be in this contest for this 10 jersey, and both Damien and him are certainly presenting very good cases, which makes it hard to select.
So that's Beauden Barrett as your Ashley and Martin turning point this week. But are those turning points, Brynner, enough for you to pick Beauden Barrett above Damien McKenzie at 10 in the most contentious position?
I don't know, Ross, because it's going to be a specific style that the All Blacks selectors are wanting. They gave Damien the opportunity last year. He made some really good improvements in his game management-wise, to be able to be his first year as a 10 in the All Blacks environment. But then you've got Beaudy, who's had so much experience, is playing some great footy, which we've touched on with the Brumbies, and then on the weekend, and they know exactly what they're going to get with him. That's a consistent message that that Razor's been saying around Beauden. He's a test level player, and they can depend on him whenever they want. So
what would your gut be that the All Blacks would want to select?
I'm never really on the fence here, Ross, but I just don't know. I honestly, in this situation, I don't know because they can go one or two ways. But honestly, I don't know. I actually just can't answer that question. I don't know which way they're going to go because both are playing well. They've seen enough footy, and it's depending on what they want. Do they want someone that's proven, like Beauden, who's played a lot of footy? They can trust him and they know what they're going to get with him, or do you have the attacking, I guess, flair and that X factor that Damien does have? And if he can sort out those unforced errors that he kind of had in that international season last year, if he can get that right, then he adds something different to that all-back attack. So I'm not too sure. Maybe you can go to Jipper on this question because I'm on the fence and I'm giving you absolutely nothing.
So what does your gut say, Bryn? No, I was laughing.
Nothing.
I was laughing because I was like, I'm so glad this question's on you. Because you've deflected it, I know it's coming my way. And I sort of was prepared for it because I think there does need to be, and this is just so ironic coming from me, so I'll temper this statement with that. But I do think we need to widen our thoughts that how important the bench is, because I think when games have been close at international level, and if we use Super Rugby Pacific, the bench has actually been the deciding factor, and that I think it's more. I think they both can start, but who's going to give the biggest impact off the bench? And if we look back to last season, I think that England game, Bodie took the game by the scruff of the neck and won it. But then, in saying that, when Damien came off the bench, I think it was against Australia. He changed the game and got that result. So it's a hard one. But what I think is potentially match on the line. Let Damien be Damien at the start. I think that you've got more margin for error. You've got more margin to take risk, and then I just go back to the England game, and that was just such a performance off the bench. And look, none of them want to wear the bench jersey. I don't. I never wanted to wear the bench jersey, but I just think his impact off the bench at international level could be so drastic. And I'm talking Bodie here, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think they could both start, but I think his impact could be greater in the last 30 minutes with that raw pace, with that ability to kick clutch goal kicks. He hasn't kicked goals for a long time. That was a 45 on the angle, maybe 50 with how wide out it was. I just think, he just seems to have the feel for international rugby like the Bomb Squad, and we're about to talk to someone that knows it better than most to sit on the bench and have such a drastic impact on a game. You'd have to think, with his experience and what he's shown, World Cup final. Again, he just seems to be so good at that role, and he can be match defining in that role.
I'm kind of conflicted on what they might do, because last year, Brenner, it felt like they got cold feet on Damien as the season went on. They put their trust in him, they put multiple games on him, and then they kind of got cold feet. And you know what All Black selectors are like? I
know this is Brenner's question, but I'm going to jump in.
Go.
Because I think that's why you've got to be clear on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So do you want a high risk? Then just tell him. Because then he can play with that freedom.
Yeah.
So I think the coaching group just needs to make that decision and then just back it. And look, if it doesn't go to plan, roll out the Ferrari, and you can still get home. Yeah. Is probably what I'm trying to say.
And the one game that I saw Damien last year that probably gave me confidence that I think he can do the job with whatever way they do was that Ireland game. His game management in that game, I think, was a really turning point of what an international 10 of the confidence that he could have gained from that. Now, look, I know that they, like to what you're saying, Ross, got a little bit of cold feet, I guess more so with the possibly the game management side, and just more so the ambitiousness that he does play with. There's a little bit of unforced errors that happened in Damien's game. But in saying it, I feel like that's what you're going to get with Damien. You let him play free, let him play ambitious, you let him have that X factor and that flair of seeing what's in front of it, and it comes part and parcel with a couple of mistakes here and there. Now, will they trust that at the international level to him to be able to do that? If he can lower those unforced error rates just a little bit, then I think it makes it a little bit easier for them not to see it as much as a risk.
And we've got to get comfortable it's going to chop and change. I think that's a key point, is that it may not be the Dan Carter set 10 sort of role. I think they both have strengths in terms of one starting, one off the bench against different opposition.
Well, look at the South Africans, for example, Jip. 4 10s that they played throughout them last year. So it can be done right when you've got the pieces around you and there's, I guess, a bit of familiarity and cohesion with other positions, and you can probably get away with, a 10 being in and out. So, yeah, the South Africans have done it, and no doubt we can probably touch on a lot of things with the South African, how good they are at the moment with Malcolm coming on the show shortly.